What is going on YouTube? It is the Middle School Math Man. This video is going to be on parallel and perpendicular lines. So obviously, there are parallel and perpendicular lines everywhere. You think about you're driving down the road, you have, the double yellow lines, those are parallel. We have perpendicular and parallel lines everywhere. I think from a graph, it's pretty obvious. But what if I don't give you a graph? What if I just give you some slopes? The slopes are going to tell us a lot about, what those lines are going to look like. So, a couple examples here. In this first little section, I'm going to give you two lines, and I give you the points. So we need to figure out the slopes of my lines. So the slopes from 2 points, you have to remember that slope formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I'm looking at AB, I'm going to have 6 minus 3, so y2 minus y1, over 2 minus negative 2. So we're going to have 6 minus 3 is 3 over 2 minus negative 2, turns into 2 plus 2, which is 4. So my slope of line AB is going to be 3 over 4. CD, we're going to have y2 minus y1, so 3 minus 0 over x2 minus x1, 3 minus negative 1. So we're going to have 3 over 4. So obviously, these two lines have the same exact slopes. If two lines have the same slopes, that's going to mean they are parallel. So that is the little symbol for parallel, just two lines that, never touch each other. So if we're looking at number 2, we're going to do the same exact thing. So I'll do this one a little bit more quickly. So we're going to have 4 minus 2 over 5 minus 0, again using that slope formula. So we're going to have 2 over 5. CD is going to be 3 minus 8 over 3 minus 1. So we're going to have negative 5 over 2. So if we look at our two slopes here, we have 2 over 5 and we have negative 5 over 2. So these are called negative reciprocals. We should know by now that a reciprocal is just the fraction flipped. So 2 over 5, and then down below in CD, the fraction is flipped. So now it's 5 over 2, and it's also negative. So to tell if it's perpendicular, we are looking for the negative reciprocal. So the fraction's flipped and the sign is changed. So the symbol for perpendicular is, might run out of room here. Obviously I ran out of room. The symbol for perpendicular is, two lines that are intersecting at a 90-degree angle. So let's look at number 3. If you want to go ahead and pause the video and actually try these on your own, I think you could handle them. So number 3 is going to be 6 minus 8 over 2 minus negative 1. So we're going to get 2 over 2 minus negative 1 is 2 plus 1, so 2 over 3. CD is going to be 3 minus 2 over 3 minus negative 1. So we're going to get 1 over 3 minus negative 1 is 4. So AB is 2 over 3, and CD is 1 over 4. Now, obviously, those are not the same. They are also not negative reciprocals. So this line is actually these lines are actually going to be neither. If you think about it, not every line has to be parallel or perpendicular. There are obviously lines that are neither. So this is an example of that. Let's do one more like this, number 4. Again, if you want to pause the video and try it on your own, go ahead and do that. So 4 minus 3 over negative 1 minus 2 is going to be 1 over negative 3. CD is going to be 6 minus 3 over negative 4 minus negative 5, which is going to be 3 over negative 4 minus negative 5 is negative 4 plus 5, 3 over 1. So as you can tell, AB is a slope of negative 1 over 3, and CD is a slope of 3 over 1. So these fractions are flipped, and also AB is negative and CD is not, so that is going to have, these lines are going to be perpendicular. So moving on, those previous 4 examples, I gave you the points. Now I'm going to give you some equations. Some of them might already be in slope-intercept. Some of them might not be, like number 13. So if you look at number 9, these are in slope-intercept. So we know that slope-intercept y equals mx plus b, m is the slope. So here, we can just look at it. We don't have to do anything. These both have a slope of 7, so that means they're going to be parallel. Number 11, these are also both in slope-intercept form already. So this one's a little bit tricky. So the first equation is negative 1 over 3. The second one is positive 1 over 3. So those are not the same. One's negative and one's positive, so they're not parallel. Also, those are not reciprocals of each other. If they were to be reciprocals, then one would be 1/3 and one would be 3 over 1, but they're both 1/3. One's negative. So those are not perpendicular either. So your answer for that is going to be neither parallel nor perpendicular. So for number 13, like I mentioned, the second equation is already in slope-intercept, but the first one is not. So we have to do a little bit of work in order to get it into slope-intercept. So I am solving for y essentially. So I'm going to get rid of that 5x first. Now I don't want negative y, so I'm going to divide everything by negative 1. So I'm left with y equals 5x minus 4. So when I'm looking at my two slopes now, I have a slope of 5, which we just converted into slope-intercept, and I have a slope of negative 1 over 5. So 5 is 5 over 1, so 5 over 1 and 1 over 5, those are reciprocals, and the 5 is positive, the 1/5 is negative, so those are going to be perpendicular lines. We're really only concerned with the slopes. I've got one more problem. I'm going to give you two lines, y equals 6 and x equals negative 1. So what I'm going to do, you should be able to look at those and kind of visualize what they're going to look like in your head, but I'm going to go ahead and graph them so you can see. This is going to be a bit of a rough graph. I apologize. So that's really all I need. So y equals 6. So that is going to be a line going through 6 on the y-axis. So that is going to be a horizontal line going through that point. I'll do them in different colors. So that's y equals 6. X equals negative 1 is going to be a vertical line going through negative 1 on the x-axis. Now obviously my lines aren't perfectly straight, but if they were, you would know that these intersect at a 90-degree angle, so those lines would be perpendicular to each other.